Jim Kunkel here. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel and set the notification bell to all so that you won't miss any of my new content. Welcome back to Global Topic. This is a final series and a discussion related to NSF 600. The focus today is going to be on Contractor NSF 600 Project Readiness. Joining me again is Corey Brown and Mark Thomas from Tnemic. Welcome, guys.
Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Hey, we've had a really good discussion related to the overview of the NSF 600. And then in the second discussion we had focused on the engineers and the specification firms out there. So for the final episode, we're going to focus on contractor readiness for this upcoming health regulation. You know, when we're looking at this health regulation, we wanted to talk about surface preparation, obviously, and what are some of the requirements that contractors should expect to perform when it comes to NSF 600 related projects?
Yeah, that's a good question, Jim, and we sort of addressed that with specifiers in the previous episode, but it is important, that we talk to the contractor community and make sure they're aware also. We talked in that last episode about the importance of a 3.0 anchor 3.0 mil anchor profile for any coatings of 100% solids that go direct to steel. And Mark pointed out in that episode, which is absolutely correct, that if you're using one of our primers that are going to continue to be certified, that requirement doesn't exist. But in those cases where coatings are going direct and you need that higher anchor profile, it's good for contractors to be ready for that because it might affect how they plan for the job and how they plan to do their surface preparation. Some folks are aware and some folks are not aware that there's a few new joint standards out there for surface preparation. SSPC and NACE released wet abrasive blasting standards several years ago that essentially doubled the number of options that contractors have and that specifiers have too for performing surface preparation. They haven't started showing up a lot on manufacturers' data sheets yet, but Tnemic has been looking into those methods a lot, mainly because around the same time, OSHA came out with the new silica rule about silica exposure to craft workers. And it really, in my opinion, has started to limit the use of dry abrasive blasting. It hasn't eliminated it, but it's starting to limit it. And wet abrasive blasting is becoming more popular. I see the use of it continue to grow. And so we've dived in with some wet abrasive blast equipment manufacturers and also the companies that produce the additives that are used in tandem with that equipment to hold back flash rust in many cases, as well as remove any dissolved salts that might be on surfaces. There's a number of additives out there, and we have tested those additives extensively with our product lines for direct contact with potable water. They all perform very, very well. So I just want to make sure that our contractors are all aware that those things are completely good to use. Tnemic supports all of those dry and wet abrasive blast methods, as well as the use of all those additives to help out during those processes. They're all well supported and well understood at this point.
Interesting, very good. You know, coatings that are compliant to the NSF 600 health regulation, when it comes to the application, what equipment requirements are there for contractors?
Yeah, this could be one that has the potential to trip up some contractors. We've talked a lot in the previous couple of episodes about the switch to these coatings and how limited use of certain solvents in the industry have driven us toward higher solids coating selections in many cases. Those higher solids materials, because we don't have solvent to use to reduce the viscosity, leaves us with using things like heat to try to control viscosity. So contractors are going to be forced to try new equipment and buy new equipment that can control the temperature of the coating during the application as a way to reduce the viscosity and get it onto the steel surface. These 100% solids, just by the nature of chemistry, have much shorter pot lives. So, we used to deal in pot lifes that had multiples of hours associated with them. And nowadays we're dealing with coatings that have multiples of seconds or minutes associated with their spray life. So in order to accommodate that, contractors are having to look at equipment that has the ability to mix the part A and B components just moments before it comes out the spray gun. Of course, I'm talking about plural component equipment. It's not a brand new concept. This equipment's been on the market for a couple of decades. But we still find that it's new to some contractors. And it can be an expensive option, and it can be something that is not going to come to them naturally right away. It's something that will take an investment in effort, an investment of dollars, an investment of training as well for them to get familiar with.
Jim, I was going to mention too, with the move to 100% solids, which I think we're going to see a lot of specifications coming out in that direction here in the next couple of years. There's a bit of a tendency on the applicator's part to think, well, I've eliminated the solvents, and so I don't have to take quite the same PPE precautions as I normally would. And we really want to emphasize, especially as you're maybe applying or considering to apply some unfamiliar products, really study the SDS. Corey mentioned that as we get rid of the solvent, we still have to make these as applicator friendly as possible, make them spray apply well, and heat can be one component of that. But you'll see a lot of manufacturers also using low molecular weight resins, which can be easily absorbed through the skin, and so you just really want to study that SDS very closely to make sure you're taking the proper precautions. The other thing I want to mention too is Tnemec has brought out a technical bulletin on this subject, and it's technical bulletin 19-110. It's on our website, or the Tnemec representative can send it to the contractor. But that goes through in detail, it gives you a background on some of these new resin systems and also the PPE that's required and really strongly recommended when using these products.
Very interesting and related to the considerations on the equipment side for the contractor. So let's move over to related to the applicator. If the move is to these 100% solids and things like that, when it comes to working with that type of product, that type of systems, what application training or certification would be important for the craft workers?
Yeah, Jim, here again, I really like to rely on organizations like SSPC for craft worker training. They do a great job of developing those programs. And SSPC does have a couple of options for craft workers in this situation. They have a 2-day training that is available. It more deals with just the concepts behind the plural component equipment and the concepts behind application. It's a great course for an applicator who might only have a couple of days to spend in the classroom, and they will get some good knowledge from that training, no doubt. For those who would want to take that a step further, though, there's an additional 3rd day that will get them a certification in the use of plural component equipment to apply these 100% solids coatings like polyurethanes and polyureas, and of course epoxies too. And that 3rd day of training then will get a little bit of hands-on, get them in front of the equipment, get them using the equipment, and there's even an assessment, a hands-on assessment at the end of the process before they receive that certification. It's a good program. I would like to see craft workers all across the nation really try to take advantage of that program. I would recommend to anyone who owns a painting company, if you're going to dive into something like this, that you have at least one person on your crew who has been through that craft worker training program, because it will really increase your chances of success and probably your chances of being profitable on these jobs right out of the gate, having that sort of certified worker on your crew to operate that equipment. Tnemec has taken a unique approach to this as well, because we see the use of this equipment as sort of a barrier to entry for some contractors. We'd like to try to help remove that if we can. And so we've put a mobile service unit into the field, and we make that available to customers who are applying Tnemec products. They can for a really inexpensive fee. Our rig will show up at your job site with a trained individual to run it for you throughout the application of our coatings. We're not charging a lot for that service. It's something more along the lines of just covering our costs to try to help eliminate that barrier of entry. We want to help people have a good time applying these coatings, show them that it could be done profitably and easily, and not have to struggle until they get through that learning curve when they're ready to make the investment in the equipment themselves.
That's great. I appreciate the outreach that you do have to the contractors, and it's very good to hear that Tnemec does provide that type of a service and support. So, really looking at the end of this series, and I appreciate the time from you both related to explaining the NSF 600 health regulation. We've covered a lot over these 3 episodes. In closing out this series, is there anything that we didn't cover that you would want to leave with the viewers?
I think we covered all the important points, Jim. I just think that in the next couple of years, as we move towards that January 1st, 2023 date, you're going to see specifications get updated by the engineering community. A lot of that's going to be towards 100% solids products. I can't speak for other manufacturers, but Tnemec has plans to bring out less than 100% solids products that are still compliant to NSF 600. So you're going to see a lot of new innovations in the coatings world. And I would say whether you're an engineer, even an owner, certainly a coatings applicator, stay close to your coatings representative. There's going to be a lot of new things coming down the pike from the coatings manufacturers.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that, Jim, is we really appreciate you reaching out and helping us get the message out to the public. These changes could be scary if we weren't here to help educate and guide people, and that's our only intent here, is to just help folks know what to do. We've got a lot of sales agents out there who are ready to take questions. We're certainly here as well. So it was great to participate in this series with you, and we really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate having the both of you on to help explain NSF 600. And in the video description, I will have a link to the Tnemec site location related to the NSF 600 explained, so that people can get additional information. And the other thing too is I'll provide a link for people to reach out to your team related to contractor support, customer support, engineering support, and things like that, technical support. Corey and Mark, thank you so much for this opportunity to talk with you both.
Thank you, Jim. We appreciate it.
Yep, you're welcome.
Great. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Thanks.
Well.